The NFL is awesome because it's unpredictable. So many things happen throughout the season that we weren't expecting. Just like in life, so often we find ourselves saying, I wasn't expecting this. Let's unpack that. Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack parallels, metaphors, and topics in sports that relate to life and faith. I'm Bryce Johnson in downtown Mount Holly, just outside of Charlotte, joined today in studio by returning guest co-host, Pastor Bryan Saylor from Forest Hill Church. We are thrilled to have him here today in our new studio. He joined us last year in our old studio, but we are fired up for today's topic because so many interesting things going on in the NFL. Week 4, a lot happened that we weren't expecting. Now, as we reflect on 4 weeks in the NFL, plenty of teams playing in a way that we were not expecting, some good, some bad. So we're going to unpack a lot of that today. And then also, you and I both know how often things happen in life that we were not expecting. And so how do we respond? How do we get through those seasons of life where it's like, I was not expecting this? And so I think it's an important topic. We can all relate to it. And so excited to unpack this with Bryan today. Do want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, search Unpacking It. And also we are on all social media platforms. Just search Unpacking It. Also, be sure to check out the Fantasy Football Fellowship podcast. Just search Fantasy Football Fellowship, and we appreciate you following along on all of that. And then also want to thank our sponsor, Upward Sports, and specifically Upward Running. And so you can start an Upward Running program at your church, and so it's for adults. Check out upward.org/runcoach, upward.org/runcoach. All right, let's say good morning and hello to Bryan Saylor. He's a campus pastor at Forest Hill Church. He has been a Carolina Panthers fan since the beginning. We also root for the Hornets as well. And we also share a love for David the Admiral Robinson. So we were talking about that earlier this morning. And his wife is named Katie. They have 3 boys. I'm one of 3 boys, so that's an adventure. I know what that's all about. But Bryan, great to see you. Great to have you here today. How you doing, man?
It's always good to be invited back. Thanks for having me, Bryce. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. Well, we're fired up. So before we get into some of the things that we're not expecting, I just want to talk about a couple takeaways from the weekend and just some other games that we'll touch on. First off, I've said this multiple times, but I love the doubleheaders on Monday Night Football. So whenever they happen, I appreciate them. I soak them in. As someone who has a really tough time only watching one game at a time because of the commercials and breaks, because now my brain has been trained by the Red Zone channel. So the more football, the better. So the doubleheader Monday Night Football, even though those games were not great, those teams are not my favorite teams, I still appreciate Monday Night Football. So I love that. So that's first thing.
And usually you have 7, 8, 9 games at the 1 p.m. slot.
Oh, yeah. My favorite slot.
That's too many.
It's a lot.
Take one away from that, put it on Monday night when, sometimes one of the Monday night games isn't as good. So it's nice to have a couple.
It is. And, a few weeks ago, it was one game started at 7, one started at 10, but I couldn't even enjoy the 10 o'clock one. It was too late. This one was 7 and 8 Eastern. Loving life. So that was positive. On the negative side, I am shocked that this story continues to be a story year after year after year. And it is the wide receiver who drops the ball before getting into the end zone. And I've written about this from a spiritual standpoint in the past, but Adonai Mitchell with the Colts were the team, the team of the first 3 weeks. Unbelievable. Daniel Jones playing well. Adonai Mitchell gets his chance. Alec Pierce is injured. And what does he do? He's a step away from the end zone, and he wants to celebrate too soon. Hold on to the ball. 2 hands. Come on, Adonai.
I'm going to give him 55% his fault It wasn't as bad as when the guy just drops it at the 4-yard line.
Oh, yeah, puts it right behind him.
He was trying to reach out. At the same time, there was a little bit of showboating. Let's keep two hands on the football. That's my take.
You got to. The other thing is I am thrilled with the returned advantage or emphasis, I should say, on special teams. Special teams are back this year. This has been like the year of special teams. We're talking blocked field goals. We're talking return punts, return kicks. We've seen onside kicks. I love it because it felt like, in recent years, it was almost like special teams, who cares? It's just touchbacks. Like you turn the channel. Net punts, very rarely we're even seeing a lot of punt returns. I don't know what's changed, but I'm loving it. I'm enjoying the special teams. I appreciate all aspects of football.
I mean, one of the only bright spots, and maybe we'll talk about this later, for the Panthers this year has been Ryan Fitzgerald, especially with the Falcons game. He seems to be dialed in on these kickoffs. The Falcons were starting at the 10-yard line sometimes, and so it really has turned into something where smart teams can start to exploit this.
Yep.
And it's added a really cool wrinkle to the game, whereas a couple years ago, I mean, it was just everybody was starting on the 25 because they're just kicking it through the end zone.
Yeah, it's fun. And being able to block field goals. And so the Bears with the big block against the Raiders, and there was like a tell that they picked up on game film where the long snapper moved the ball a certain way, and they knew when to jump, and so the Bears were able to block that kick. So I just appreciate that, the nuances. So that was fun.
Yeah, a lot of kickers too, kicking 60-plus yard field goals. It feels like all of a sudden the past 4 years, NFL kickers have figured out how to kick the ball farther for some reason.
They still miss plenty of easy ones or 40-yarders, but I love the long ones.
I have more confidence on a 65-yarder than I do a PAT.
That's right. We've seen the PAT misses, which is, I like that too. I think that's good. That's fun. It keeps it interesting. And then two other things. The Eagles are still the team to beat, and they remind me of the Chiefs last year, where you win ugly, you win some games that maybe you didn't even deserve to win, but you just win. And the Eagles are in that. They're the team. They're the team that just wins. And I know the Chiefs are back. They beat the Ravens, which we'll talk about, but the Eagles are that team. So the reigning champs, we know that. I expect them to be back in the mix, probably at the in the Super Bowl. So that was impressive. And then I'm thrilled with the Lions. They keep things rolling. We were all excited about the Browns defense. They beat the Packers. And this was a reminder that all the great teams, we'll see it this year, that they will have one weird loss on their record. It basically happens every year. And so for the Packers, it was the loss to the Browns. This week, it was the Chargers losing to the Giants. A few weeks ago, it was who the Lions lose to. They lost to somebody, but I guess they lost to the Packers. So I don't know, maybe they haven't had their game yet. But all the good teams will have, even the Bills, which we're going to talk about, having a competitive game against the Saints. This just sort of happens throughout the season, but it's nice when you pull it out. And so Eagles, Lions, both moving on and winning. So anyway, those are my kind of headlines, thoughts. Anything else from the weekend that jumped out to you, week 4 of the NFL?
Good to see the Lions just be back in the mix.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought that they were not going to be, with Ben Johnson moving over to the Bears. And so as a fan of a team that's deeply struggling with the Carolina Panthers, I have a soft spot for the Bills. I have a soft spot for the Lions, those fan bases that have endured a lot of heartbreaks. And so I'm glad to see the Lions still doing well, 3-1. Speaking
of Ben Johnson, he did a halftime interview that was not well received and got criticized for it, as he should. And so he just was sort of short, disrespectful to the announcer. And here's my take on this. So I always talk about it on the show. I love broadcasting. My background's in broadcasting, so I'm sort of a broadcasting nerd. So I'm following it, and I keep up with all of that. I don't love the halftime interviews. I think they're unnecessary. I think it's annoying for a coach to have to do it. But here's the deal. You do have to do it. It's part of the deal. It's part of whatever agreement with the broadcasters in the league. So you have to do it. So do it respectfully. Because if you don't, we notice it's not a great look, and you want to go from offensive coordinator to head coach. It's part of the deal. You're now the face of the franchise. And so you got to be reasonable there. But here's the positive. He acknowledged it. He admitted, hey, I blew it. and loosely apologized. So good for Ben Johnson on that side. So I appreciate that.
So here's my thought.
Okay.
I like the grumpy head coach.
Now you like it.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
All right.
I mean,
that's fine.
To your point, as a broadcaster, you're a professional, but that these guys are in the heat of the moment.
They are.
And, Bill Belichick, famously grumpy.
Popovich.
Greg Popovich, famously grumpy. Some of those epic sideline interviews with Greg Popovich in the NBA. And so I feel like it's fun to have somebody who's a little bit upset, a little bit grumpy. But I see your point as well. It's two human beings trying to do a job. Let's keep it respectful.
Yeah. No, again, I don't think they should have to do it because they're in the moment. Like, because they are intense. Like, for them to just flip the switch and like be all, hey, how you doing? I get it, but that's the setup. So don't be a jerk, because it's the sideline reporter, that's her job or his job. So anyway, that's my take on that. But we'll see how Ben Johnson is moving forward. Now he got the win, so he's feeling a little better.
There you go.
They're 2-2. They're not bad. So, all right. As we look across the league and as we kind of look, through 4 weeks of the season, what we love about the NFL is how any team can win any week. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes, the teams lose to the Browns and it's like, wait, what in the world? And even though we expect the unexpected, there is so much that happens during the season that is unexpected. The surprises, the unpredictability of the NFL season is what makes it fun, and we tune in every week. And even though there's the fan bases that think the NFL is scripted, come on, it's not scripted. It's wild. It's wide open. It's a blast. And so here's some of the situations from week 4 that I was not expecting. I was not expecting to see the Cowboys and Packers game end in a tie. I mean, I thought the Packers would blow them out. I benched Dak Prescott in my fantasy league, which was a huge mistake. I lost because of it, but we'll talk about that on the fantasy show. But I did not see that coming. And then I also did not expect the Saints to have a competitive game against the Bills. I was not expecting the Jaguars to go on the road and beat the 49ers. I was not expecting the Giants to beat the previously undefeated Chargers. And I was expecting Jaxson Dart to be interesting, not necessarily against the Chargers. And so that was fun. And so those were some of the things that I was not expecting. What did you make of some of those games?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody's talking about Cowboys Packers, a 40-40 tie. You love to see a high-scoring game. Pretty wild. Wanted to ask you, did this game change how you viewed the Packers long-term? A lot of people went into the year saying the Packers are a contender to come out of the NFC. They still have a very solid defense, 7th in total yards allowed. Division could be a little easier than we thought. Vikings and Bears, a lot of people thought that they would be a little bit better 2-2 right now. But people thought they were going to beat the Cowboys. Did Jerry Jones win them the Micah trade?
So we have to look at that trade a little bit later when we see the draft picks play out.
For sure.
And how far the Packers go this year. I think it was a little telling to say, ooh, man, this Packers defense, big letdown. But I think the resolve for Dak and for George Pickens to step up and fill the void of CeeDee Lamb, because I said it on last week's show, I was convinced that the Cowboys would not be very good without CeeDee Lamb, without having him out there. And so to have Ferguson and Javonte Williams has been a legit running back. So this offense showed up and played very well. So you score 40 points, you expect to win. And what's funny is I like thinking about the tie. Like, I've always been the adamant guy. Ties are dumb. You should never have that in sports. But in this scenario, for some reason, I love that it was a tie. Like, normally I hate it. I thought this was great. And to me, the tie is a win for the Cowboys.
100%.
I mean, that was a big accomplishment to get away with a tie. Get out of there with a tie.
100%. And I mean, the Cowboys offense is very good. CeeDee Lamb was my first round draft pick. So praying for you, big guy. We need you back out there on the team.
Let's go.
But it's been amazing to see how well they've done. Also, I guess encouraging to see, if you're a Packers fan, Jordan Love stepping up, being able to put 40 points up on the board.
Yep.
And then you hope to figure out that defense a little bit as the season goes on, especially for the Packers, who have postseason desires. They want to go deep in the postseason. They're eyeing a Super Bowl this year. Yes,
no question. And what I love about the Packers is Romeo Doubs, 3 touchdowns, sort of like the solid receiver there. Like other guys have kind of been in and out. He's been the most steady, but that's a monster game for him. But his willingness to wear the goofy helmet, good for him. Like not worried about how he looks. He just wants to be safe out there.
Come on. The Guardian cap.
The Guardian cap. I mean, it looks absurd.
Safety first.
It looks absurd. But as a guy who's dressed goofy for many years, not worried about what people think, good for Romeo with the helmet. I'm all for it. So
let your game speak.
That's it. So big performance by him. A disappointing, I think, loss for that Packer or tie. It was a loss for that defense, for the Packers defense, for sure, to give up 40 against the Cowboys. All right, so some other things that we were not expecting. Let's talk about our Panthers. So Brian's a Panthers fan. I'm a Panthers fan. One, I was not expecting the Panthers to beat the Falcons 30-0. And then for the following week, to have the Falcons beat the Commanders 34-27, while the Panthers follow up their big shutout with a 13-42 loss to the Patriots.
Pain.
Are you kidding me? So was not expecting all of that. I will say I expected the Panthers to lose to the Patriots. I'm in on the Patriots. I like Vrabel. I like Drake May. I think they're turning the corner, but still 13-42, not good. And overall, I was expecting the Panthers to be much better this season. And in many ways, it's even worse. I mean, it's just like we're so dumbfounded. We don't even know what to say. We don't know where to start. We don't know if it's coaching. I think it's an issue with Bryce Young. The offense isn't consistent. It's just a mess. So what is your take as a Panthers fan?
Yeah, Bryce, I've come on this Unpacking It podcast today to make kind of an official declaration. I am an optimist. I have held out hope for a very long time.
Me too.
And I've been the guy coming into this season where I bought into Dave Canales, I bought into Dan Morgan, I bought into Bryce Young, and the resurgence he had at the end of the last season. My official statement is the offense is completely broken. It is irreparable under Bryce Young. I've lost hope. Panthers fans are at the place where we're coming up with these weird theories, where we're trying to piece together. And the metaphor I was thinking about, I was driving over here, is, I'm a home repair guy. Like, I believe, like, I'm cheap. I'm going to fix the house myself.
Oh, good for you.
And so if something's happening on the car, I'm going to get on YouTube and figure it out. If something's happening at the house, I'm going to make it happen. But occasionally, you have to call in a professional. Sometimes you got to call in a locksmith or an electrician. And when a professional steps into your house, like, you're both working on your house, but there's a noticeable difference. And what I think is, like, when I watch the Panthers offense, it is painful. It's hard.
Yeah.
They're going to Lowe's 17 times for their home repair project. And then when I see, a Justin Herbert, when I see a 40-40 game, it's like the electrician steps in and they're like, listen, step back, daddy's got this. And they can actually move the ball down the field. I mean, I'm sorry, because I'm going to keep ranting for just one more second.
The floor is yours.
My son is 5 years old. He has not witnessed a functional Panthers offense in his life. 21 points a game, 17 points a game, 20 points a game, 13 points a game, 20 points a game. It's broken beyond repair. I still want to believe that Canales and Morgan can figure this thing out, but we have a big problem. And honestly, Panthers fans don't have a lot of hope right now.
No, there's very little hope. And I don't even know what the solution is, because I don't think Andy Dalton solves anything. Like, I think he would play better, but then what? Like, what does that lead to? He's in his final year or two of his career. It just doesn't, him coming in doesn't make them a playoff team either. So it's like, Then what? So now it's about getting the top pick and starting over at the quarterback position, which is just hard to swallow. And I think, to your point too, when we watch the NFL, the Panthers are the worst. Like, the Browns are bad, but they have a good running attack. Judkins has looked great for them. They at least have an elite defense. This week was maybe a little not, the lines are hard to stop, but there's something that you can grasp even with them. The Jets didn't look. They looked okay last night. They had some moments. Justin Fields, some big plays, and Garrett Wilson is a legit receiver. So there's some, but we're in that category of the Jets and the Browns.
It's us and the Saints.
And the Saints are bad, but they almost want to be bad. Like, they expected to be bad.
Yeah.
Right? They went in expecting
And I think to add to that, it's super discouraging, and I'm sure that you've brought this up on the pod before, but to add to that, you got Baker Mayfield, who was a Carolina Panthers quarterback, tearing it up in our division.
Yep.
You got Sam Darnold, who took the Vikings to 13 wins last year. Now he is having some success over in Seattle. And so it's like discouraging to see that you have all of these guys that basically couldn't make it here, and now they're thriving.
Yep.
And so you start to even wonder, like, I mean, I don't think Bryce Young can cut it, but then like what happens when next season he gets traded to,
that's right.
somewhere, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, Bryce Young on the Titans, look at what he can do. I mean, that's like, you have these nightmares as a Panther fan. It's a dark place to be.
It really is. And especially with year 3, you got to turn the corner. Especially when some of these young guys come in right away, and you got Jaden Daniels and even Jaxson Dart. It's only been one game, so we got to see more. But still, he came in and it was like, oh, wow, all right, the team looks different.
There's a spark.
There's a spark. Where's the spark? So anyway, I was expecting things to be much different for the Panthers, and here we are. It's like I was not expecting this. I was not expecting a 1-3 start when you play against Jacksonville and Arizona. I mean, come on, and the Patriots even. I mean, it's like, come on, you got to win a couple of those. So
for sure.
So that was disappointing. And then a couple other things that people were probably surprised by. I mean, who was counting on the Baltimore Ravens to be 1-3, tied with the Browns? And then on a positive side, did anyone see the Seahawks, Colts, and Steelers all starting 3-1? With Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and Aaron Rodgers as their quarterbacks. So the one I will say, I thought the Steelers were going to be good, but I did not expect the other two. Seattle and Indy, no way.
Yeah, it's been a big surprise there. Going back to what you mentioned about Baltimore, encouraging, I think, to see the Chiefs do well. I know some people are not big fans of the Chiefs.
We're over the Chiefs.
People are
Brian.
over the Chiefs. I'm sorry. It's fun to have a fun Chiefs team, though. Let's have a fun Chiefs team. Let's not have a boring, sad, 20 points a game, winning everything by 1 point Chiefs team.
That's true. So it is fun when they're back to lighten it up.
For sure. But the Ravens, again, had Super Bowl aspirations, but some very concerning stuff. 31st in yards allowed, dead last in points allowed this season. Derrick Henry, still one of the leading rushers for the year, but down 40 yards per game from last year. So there's some warning lights with the Ravens that I think are pretty concerning as you look forward to the postseason.
Every year there will be a team that we were not expecting to just sort of have that bad year. Where nothing goes their way. It just sort of unravels.
Niners were that last year.
Yeah. It feels like the Ravens could be that team. I mean, who was expecting Derrick Henry to fumble the way he's been fumbling? And then, of course, you never expect injuries. So I'm not even including injuries. Like, you always expect injuries, but you never expect your guy to get injured. But I guess if you're a Bengals fan, maybe you do expect it, because it's just sort of, now it's been the story with the Bengals. That was ugly last night. Oof. So, but anyway, with Burrow being out. But anyway, so the topic today, as we look across the NFL, there are always situations where we're just not expecting it. We're surprised. We weren't counting on it. This is, we say things like, this is not what I thought would happen. And the reality is, it's not only in the NFL, it's in all the sports, but it's in life. That these sayings, this is not what I was expecting. I was not expecting this. I didn't think this would happen so often in different seasons, in different situations, throughout our lives. And so let's think about some of these things. Like, you just look across the board in our lives. We are not expecting a bad health diagnosis. We are not expecting the phone call about an accident. We are not expecting a loved one's premature death. We are not expecting marriage to be this hard. We are not expecting our kids to be this difficult. We are not expecting to lose our jobs. We are not expecting to be at this point in our career. We expected to be further. We expected to get the promotion. And we're not expecting, certain relationships to fracture. We go, how did this happen? I never expected to lose that relationship. I never expected this relationship to go wrong, whether at work or friends or relatives or spouses, all those kinds of things. And so the list goes on and on of things where it's just unpredictable, that life, happens, and we experience unexpected trials and, situations that just aren't planned. And so we're reminded that as much as we try to control life and count on things to happen a certain way, over and over, that's just not how life goes. And so before I jump into sort of the response to this and how we handle this, Brian, when you kind of hear that list, how does it resonate with you? And what do you think of the saying, I was not expecting that when it comes to life?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't see it coming. You know, when you sent me that topic that we were talking about it, I kind of chuckled because that's something that my wife and we've experienced a lot over the past couple of years. So I was at a church in Florida for 13 years and thought I was going to be there forever. And then just had a couple really difficult situations while I was there. Had a mentor that was somebody that I thought was going to be a lifelong mentor, and somebody that I would have said is like one of the closest people to me in my life. Just say and do some things that were super disheartening, very betraying, and it turned into a very, very like gnarly church situation. You know, you hear about church hurt and church situations, and I honestly never thought I was going to experience something like that. And then within 2 months was in the midst of this really, really painful, difficult thing. It was one of the hardest situations that I've ever experienced in my life. And ultimately that led to kind of the past 2 years where my wife and I have been on kind of a crazy journey, and a lot of what you talked about, dealing with health stuff. And we've been so blessed because our kids, for the most part, have been really healthy, but had a really scary incident with our middle son where he was at the hospital, and it was really scary for him, and also really scary because we were about 2 days from being off of our insurance. So it was just scary financially. Obviously, like the job stuff has been really crazy, and I'm super blessed to be at an awesome church here in Charlotte, Forest Hill Church now, but that was a wild situation for a long time. And just anytime one of those transitions happens relationally, there's always fallout from that. So it's just been a lot of grief. And honestly, if you had told me like 2 years ago, this is where I would be, my mind would have been blown. And so we can talk more about it because God's been so faithful in it. And I'm learning a lot even now still through it. But yeah, I mean, life hits you sometimes, and it is kind of stunning. And I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming.
Gosh. And there's no getting around just how hard it is. That it's not what we want. It catches us off guard. And listen, I was actually talking to somebody who's going through a really tough time, and in some ways he feels like God's prepared him for it. And I believe in that too, that we can prepare, spiritually speaking, to be able to kind of have the posture of, hey, whatever happens in life, I know I've got God's strength.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, just kind of sitting in the reality that people listening and you and I relating to this, that this is a surprise. I was not expecting this. And so fill in the blank, whatever that is. And yeah, I've experienced many, many, many things that I was not expecting. And oftentimes for me, things are just so much harder than I expected them to be. And so, 12 years doing Unpacking It has been a lot harder than I expected. And 12 years of marriage, harder than I expected. Coaching 6 and under soccer, harder than I expect. I should have expected that. I should have known better. But it catches you off guard. It's like, man, wow. So I'm there. I'm there. And so as we talk about these things, what do we do? What do we do with the unexpected aspects of life? Because it hits all of us. And so the good news for those of us as followers of Jesus, we can get through the unexpected difficulties because we trust the one who isn't surprised. And sometimes when I hear that, it always sounds a little cheesy to me. Like, he's not surprised by this. God's not surprised by this. And it's true though. He's outside of time. He gets it. He sees the whole picture and how things are going to come together. And we're so limited in that. And so that's why we trust him, because he knows what's going on. And we also trust the one who is with us, empowering us, and is accomplishing his plans and purposes in and through us. And so all these unexpected things he's using for his purposes and plans, and it's refining us. It's deepening our faith in him. And so, I look to the encouragement and the example of Paul in 2 Corinthians 4, 8, and 9, where where he says, and he's going through all sorts of stuff throughout his ministry life. He says, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. There was an old worship song back in growing up in youth group with those words. Love that song.
Man, I'm hearing it in my head right now.
It's such a good song. It is. Singing the words of these verses. But that's what we cling to. That yes, there's trouble. Yes, there's unexpected things. Yes, there's surprises. We get hit on all sides. But we don't have to be crushed. We don't have to lead. It doesn't have to lead us to despair, and we don't have to be destroyed by these things.
Yeah, I love what your buddy said, that God prepared him for it. And one of the things that I've experienced over the past couple of years is that I do believe that there is a grace that God gives you that can only be experienced in the moment. Sometimes when we start projecting out, like and thinking, what if, or we hear about somebody else and what they're experiencing, it's like, I don't know how they're doing it. God gives you a grace in the moment. On the flip side, though, what I've experienced is, I mean, there's been days over the past couple of years where I've woken up and I'm like, my win today is getting through today. Like, life is so hard right now that I don't have a lot of hope beyond just like, I want to survive today.
Yeah.
And there are just days where that's happening. And one of the things that I think for guys especially, men, God designed men to be builders, to be fixers, to be warriors. And so when something like that happens, something that's unexpected, we go into, we're going to take care of this mode. We're going to fight for our business. We're going to fight for our family. We're going to fight for our wife. We're going to fight for our kids. And a lot of times we can be very focused on the external, but then what happens internally is there's pain, there's grief, there's sorrow that we don't really know how to deal with. And in a lot of ways, like, our culture doesn't really have an avenue for us to deal with. And so when that happens, I think a lot of times that's when guys will turn to vices or turn to habits that, it's easier to just be on the ESPN bet app. It's easier to be doom scrolling or to turn towards vices like alcohol or vices like lust, because I'm trying to deal with all this stuff on the outside, but on the inside, I'm dealing with this pain that I don't know what to do with. And ultimately, that's where your point, the best thing to do is to turn to God, and God is inviting us in deeper because of this. But man, that is the challenge. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. And I think there's like two parts. When the unexpected happens, there is a threat to, discouragement, despair, all these things that are the inner turmoil there because it's a difficult situation. The other thing that's really hard too is that the unexpected goes against our plans.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, what we thought was going to happen isn't happening. And so like, we're grieving that, like, man, I thought I'd be further along in my career.
Yeah.
I thought marriage was going to look like this, or I thought my kids were going to be like this. So we're like grieving that aspect of it, but then also dealing with whatever the hard element is too. And so I think there's this freedom in acknowledging it, admitting like, this is not what I expected. This is really hard. And having those conversations with people that we trust, but then ultimately turning to God in that. And to your point too, to say, hey, I can't fix this. I can't control this. This isn't what I planned, but God, I trust you. And God, I need you to get me through this. I need your strength. I need your power. And I need you to remind me of your truth and your promises found in your word. And so I've got to be able to, be reminded of those things. And for us, we got to take the initiative too, to dive into God's word and meditate and memorize, these promises and these the truths that get us through. And so, I love this this is Psalm 73, 23 through 26. Yet I still belong to you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, leading me to a glorious destiny. Whom have I in heaven but you? I desire you more than anything on earth. My health may fail, my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart. He is mine forever. And so what are we declaring when the unexpected happens? Do we just stop at, I can't believe this happened. I was not expecting this. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Or are we declaring, all right, my health may fail, my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart.
I love that God is my strength. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of David. And obviously, famously kills Goliath, famously is king. There's lots of high points in David's life. But if you start reading his story, there's a ton of low points. And one of those low points is in 1 Samuel chapter 30. And it kind of is the low point at the end of a decade of low points, a decade of trials. And he has this moment where everything has fallen apart around him, relationally, financially, all of these things. And this scripture in 1 Samuel 30, verse 6 says, but David strengthened himself in the Lord. And I think that there is moments where we have to strengthen ourselves in the Lord, where nobody else is coming for us. And our opportunity is either we're going to turn towards these things that are ultimately going to hurt us, or we're going to have to cling on to God. And God is more real often in the hard times than even the good times. C.S. Lewis says that we can ignore pleasure, but we cannot ignore pain. And God whispers to us in our pleasures, but shouts in our pain. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. And so for me personally, it's been getting in the quiet in times when it feels like life is falling apart. It's getting in the Word. It's opening up to those trusted people. It's going to church. Like I've experienced over the past couple of years some really deep hurts when it comes to church. But man, I'm more convicted about the importance of the local church than ever before. And I'm more committed to it because I've seen the importance of my family and I saying like, no, we're committed to God's mission. We're committed to the local church. And God has met us there in a powerful way in the midst of this. And even in times where everything has seemed like it was falling apart or everything has seemed like what's happening next, that meeting together every single week has been this consistency in our schedule of like, I don't know what's going to happen this week, but I know that on Sunday morning, I'm going to be at church with my hands lifted, worshiping Jesus and hearing something that's going to strengthen and encourage me for whatever I'm going to face next.
I love that because it's so easy when the unexpected happens where it leads us to sort of giving up. In some ways, it can be, I don't want to worship. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to read the Bible. I don't want to be around positive people because I don't want to hear it. Like, my plans did not go how I wanted, and forget it. Like, I forget this. And because let's parallel it to sports. We as Panthers fans are very tempted to say, forget the Panthers, right? I'm done with the Panthers. So yesterday was my birthday, and my wife got me some new Panthers sweatpants. And so, of course, I joked like, well, we're going to have to take these back. You know, it's like this. I'm going to wear Panthers sweatpants during this winter. But no, we don't give up on the Panthers. They're our team. And so I'm teaching my daughters, win or lose, we're Panthers fans. It's a lot of losing. To your point of 5-year-old, my 6-year-old, same thing. There's no wins for the Panthers, no winning seasons. But we stick with it. And the same thing when life hits us and it's unexpected. It's like, work is harder than I thought. Marriage is harder than I thought. I was not expecting this health diagnosis. And the temptation to give up, the temptation to give in to vices and temptation and numbing and all these other things that we think make us feel better, or we just say, forget it. I'm just going to do this. I don't care anymore. That's what happens. When things don't go our way, we pout, we feel bad for ourselves, and we go kind of down that path. But man, if we would find our strength in the Lord, turn to the Lord, continue to do the things that we know are right. We know we're designed to worship God. We know that he's worthy to be praised. Even when things don't go our way, he's absolutely worthy to be praised. And we know that the importance of the church, even when the church lets us down. And it will. The church will let us down. But God designed the church. He sent Jesus to establish the church. And so we need the church. We're part of the body. And so we can't give up on that either. And so I think it's important that you brought that up too, that you've been in the church, been hurt by the church, by people you trusted, yet you're not giving up on the church. You're not giving up on God. Come on.
No, and I've found especially in those hard times, I mean, there has been days where I have felt like I don't have the strength to even worship God on my own or turn to God on my own. And yet when I walk in the building, there is this group of people around me that's helping me to get there. Yep. And through worship, through the word, through just being strengthened by each other, like they're carrying me, and kind of like the rising tide helps all the ships to get higher.
The parallel to Panthers games. I mean, it's the same thing. You show up and you go, wow, all right, people are still Panthers fans.
Come on.
We stink. We're not going to win today, but we're still in this together. And so in a much more important way, the body of Christ, we are in this together. We lift each other up during the unexpected times. And we agree with each other when we know to go, man, buddy, I know you weren't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this for you. I didn't even necessarily want this for you. I don't want this for myself, but we trust that God is in it and that he will get us through, and that he's meeting us in the midst of it for his purposes and plans. And so it's not a cliche thing. It's something that we have to believe and trust and go, all right, it's unpredictable. It's unexpected, but I'm still going to remain faithful because he's faithful.
Yeah. And God is in it. He's getting us through it.
Yep.
But he's also desiring to change us in the process of it.
Amen.
And there genuinely is moments where I think all you can do is just hang on. But I also believe that, there are things in each one of our lives that are unhelpful. There are things in our hearts and souls that are not helpful for us and our families, and they're not bringing glory to God. And so when the unexpected happens, I think it's an opportunity to let God change you. And for me, I needed to get stronger. I needed to get more courageous and more discerning. I needed to have more gratitude in my life for the people that God has placed in my life that are my friends and my relationships that are gifts from God. And those things have been sharpened and shaped through the experience that I've had.
That's great. Yeah. I was just reminded too that recently we've had a health issue with my wife's heart. She had a heart procedure done, and not what I was expecting, not what I was planning for by any means, but through that, it allowed me to be a better serving husband, right? to put her needs ahead of my own. And it challenged me because my plan for September is football. And it was a Monday night. I was all excited to sit down and watch the Manning cast. And we're at the emergency room. And so I was not expecting that. I'm watching the game from the emergency room. But in that, God is working on me to continue to get rid of my selfishness, to get rid of putting my needs ahead of others, all those things. And so you're right, the refining process. And so, yeah, it's not what we expect. It's not what we want. And it's hard to watch my wife go through that kind of pain. But man, if it's making me more of a sacrificial husband, a humble husband, a serving husband, man, that's going to benefit my marriage moving forward. And of course, making me more like Jesus through that process as well. I'm going to leave us with this, though. Going back to 2 Corinthians, we go down a little bit further. Paul's still writing. This is chapter 4, 16 through 18. This is paraphrased by the Message, but love kind of what this says. So it says, so we're not giving up. How could we? Even though on the outside, it often looks like things are falling apart on us. On the inside, where God is making new life, not a day goes by without his unfolding grace.
Let's go.
These hard times are small potatoes compared to the coming good times, the lavish celebration prepared for us. There's far more here than meets the eye. The things we see now are here today, gone tomorrow. But the things we can't see now will last forever. And so God's doing things we can't see, and what he's preparing us for ultimately, eternity with him. And I love that, the lavish celebration.
Yeah. The eternal weight of glory.
That's what we're longing for, and we should be excited about. That's what we should be excited about.
Yeah, and I love Paul's always great at that, like turning the trial and looking at what God's doing in it. I think when bad things happen, we always view them as unexpected and undeserved. But, another way to look at I didn't expect it is there is some blessings that God has given us that we didn't expect either. And a lot of times the blessings we chalk up as I deserve
That's
them.
right.
They should come to me.
It's good.
But man, I didn't expect to have a wife like Katie that believes in me, that is my strength and my wisdom. I didn't expect to end up at Forest Hill and be able to work with some of the most amazing people and some dear friends. Like I didn't expect the gospel. Like Jesus saved me from my sins and Jesus invited me into life with God, not because of what I've done, but because of what he's done. Amen. And so I think it's easy for me, just transparently, like I can get it caught in a negative spiral, an anxious spiral. And one of the things that I try to remind myself is that I want to have a heart of gratitude, and I want to enter God's gates with thanksgiving. And there's a lot that I didn't expect that's good, not simply the bad things as well.
Amen. Absolutely. So yeah, plenty of unexpected 3-1 teams, and like we mentioned, the Colts and the Seahawks and that kind of thing. Our life is filled with unexpected blessings and absolutely undeserving. None bigger than salvation and what Jesus has done for us. It was unexpected. He gave up the heavenly realm to come down to earth, be born in a manger. That's unexpected. He goes to the cross, he rises again, unexpected. But man, we're so thankful that he did that. And because of that, we as followers of Jesus who trust him can now handle and get through the unexpected things of life. And so that's the truth that we have to cling to, and we cling to him. We cling to him because we can now know him and fellowship with him and turn to him through whatever situation that we weren't planning for. And so he is with us. And so, the other last thing too is that, God will surprise us with how he works out the most difficult situations for our good, and the promise of Romans 8:28. And so then ultimately with a different tone, we'll be saying, I wasn't expecting this.
Let's go.
Because we see things turn around and go, wow, I can't believe this terrible situation was turned around for good. But that's the excitement. That's the promise that we have as we love God and follow him. And so to him be the glory. And that's the hope that we have today as well. So I wasn't expecting this. And so we just say it a different way, different tone. I wasn't expecting this. This is awesome. Here we go. So any final thoughts, Bryan? Appreciate you being here today, man. This was awesome.
It's been a joy. We still love the Panthers. We still believe in them. And I'm thankful to have the opportunity to be with you. Love what you're building here with Unpacking It. And just praying for every single person who's listening to this. If you're walking through a hard time, cling to Jesus. And I just pray that God meets you in unexpected ways today as you're walking with him.
Amen. I love that. I love it. So there you go. There's Bryan Saylor, pastor at Forest Hill Church. Appreciate him joining us today. And thank you for being with us as well. I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.